The first step in starting your weaving is choosing your yarn color. We want to measure out about an arm's length of yarn and then cut it from your spool of yarn. Then you'll begin by attaching it to your needle, pushing the string through and tying a knot to secure it to your string. Use a double knot for safe measure. Then we'll be tying the other end of our string to one of those loose strings in the very center of our loom we created. Always make sure that you do a nice tight knot that comes close to the center of this plate. Now we're ready to start weaving. It doesn't matter where you start as long as you use the under-over technique to lace your strings together. First go through a few and then pull your string tight. When you pick back up where you left off, make sure that you continue your pattern of going over and under. Also, looking at each string individually to make sure that you're actually going to the next string in the order of the plate. The strings may get confusing, so take your time. As you go around, make sure that you tuck any loose strings that may be exposed on your loom. You want to tuck those behind the strings that you're sewing with so that they don't stick out when you're finishing your project. As you're continuing your weaving, you want to make sure that you're pulling your string tight in between every few strings. This will make sure that your weaving stays together and is nice and firm. At the end, if you haven't pulled your strings together tightly, then your weaving may fall apart. When you've reached the end of your first color, you can cut it off and then remove the leftover string from your needle, or you could untie your string from your needle from the start. Either works. Next, you'll have to push that string underneath your warp and then move on to selecting your next color. I'm going to use teal. Pull out as much yarn as you think you'll need. If you want a small ribbon of color, you'll only pull out a small amount. Or if you want to fill a big space, you can pull a lot of string out. Now you'll be cutting it off of your spool and beginning your next color. This will be a little bit different. You're not going to be tying the end to anything. You're simply going to pick up where you left off, weaving through your piece, making sure that you pull your string all the way through so that it meets the end of your last string. And you also have to tuck that behind your warp. When you continue to sew, those pieces will hold in tightly against each other. When you go around for the first time, make sure that you don't pull too tightly or you'll pull that string out. However, once you've gone around more than once, the pressure of the other strings will hold those ends in place. We'll be tying those off later when we finish our piece, so don't worry that they're hanging loose. We'll tie them when we're completed with our weaving. You can repeat these last few steps every time that you decide you want to change colors or when you run out of string until you've completely finished your weaving.